going to call this meeting of the Board of Parks and Recreation to order. I'm Michelle Cummings Steele, Chair of the Board. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to move now to the appeal of decisions pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. We're going to move now to consideration of minutes. Have you all had an opportunity to read the minutes of our September meeting? Is there a motion for approval? Is there a second? Is there any discussion of the minutes? It has been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. Moving now to Metro Council referrals. Are there any referrals from the council members present? Director Odom.
Council member Sharon Hurd is here today.
Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ooh, we gotta do better. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I thought we were friends by now.
Good afternoon.
And let me just say, I'm wearing purple for domestic violence and not red as you usually see me in. But I have shared with you all a letter. But this morning when I was awakened, I was thinking about this board and said, how can I address the board? Should I call you a board of boldness, a board of change? Because you all do. You all are the change that you want to see. And then I said, of course, you have to be the board of dreams. I provided you with a letter that shows all council members in Bellevue, including 2 at-large council members and Councilmember Henderson, whose district in which the Warner Parks are located. There have been over 1,500 citizens who spoke up and said they want to keep the iconic Heritage Field. We know that in 2009, it was agreed that the Miracle Park would be built and the Heritage Park would be demolished. But that was before 60,000 people moved to Nashville. It was before Major League Soccer came to Nashville. It was before the Nashville Predators had a run for the Stanley Cup and the huge NFL draft. The Plan for Parks study that was done in 2017 recommended that we will need 56 baseball fields in Metro within, I guess, about 5, 6, 7 years, 2026. And to my knowledge, there are no plans to build any new baseball fields. And we are already about 30 behind. So demolishing any baseball field at this time makes no sense. And please listen. It is very important for us to invest in our kids. We give them $1 today so they will not try to steal it from us later. My plea to you is to be that board of boldness, change, and dreams. Make sure that we save our children and we save the iconic Heritage Field. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time today, Councilwoman Hurt, and thank you so much for being here. We're going to follow our agenda this afternoon. I will go ahead and make an announcement that regarding, what number is it? 1021-06 and 1021-07. Scott Tigert and Jenny Hannon are on the agenda today to speak. We will not open for public comment. If you are interested in comments, please, after this meeting, if we haven't already received it, because you all have been in contact with us and we appreciate that. But please do send your emails and make calls in between now and our next meeting. I'm going to move now to old business 07-21-03. Staff requests conditional acceptance of a donation from Habitat for Humanity of an approximate 4.53 acre subdivision of land and proposed park improvements to the land. The property is located at 0 Brick Church Pike on parcel number 0600000700. Conditions include park staff level approval of all design, construction, and compliance with all Metro Park standards and policies, coordinated public engagement during design phase, a phase 1 environmental review of all property to be donated and resolution of any required remediation, development of property survey, legal description, and all other instruments required per Metro to accept the property donation, standard written confirmation of other terms, including no match obligation from parks, and upon transfer, Metro Parks will operate and maintain the park. The acquisition committee met this morning. Commissioner Haynes, is there a report from the committee?
We met and recommend approval.
Are there any comments or discussion from commissioners? I will accept the motion.
I move that we accept the recommendation of the Acquisitions Committee.
Thank you so much. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Moving now to 07-21-10, Councilmember Nancy Van Reese, Chair for Parks, Library, and Arts, with support from Councilmember Sharon Hurt, Chair of the Minority Caucus, requests suspension of the rules to allow Public Square Park to be renamed Diane Nash Park. The naming committee met this morning. Commissioner Barnes, is there a report from the committee?
The naming committee did meet and we recommend deferral to the November meeting.
All righty, are there any comments or discussion? Do I need to take a vote on a deferral? Okay, I'll accept the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. Deferred to our next meeting. 09-21-09, presentation of the annual monitoring facility usage report for ES Rose Park Sports Complex. Director Odom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Wayne Evans will make that presentation for us today.
To be here today to present this. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, so I'll try to be brief, hit on the highlights, and I'll take any questions you may have regarding the report. As you know, this report is produced annually as a result of the agreement we went into with Metro Parks and Belmont University when they constructed this athletic complex on our property. The annual report details our overall park usage. It does the lease payments of Belmont to Metro Parks, which is then used by Metro Parks at the Easley Community Center, as well as Rose Park and Carter Lawrence Magnet Schools. It also details utility payments made by Metro Parks and by Belmont, which are shared, and are increased as Belmont's usage goes up. They pay more of the share. It also addresses parking, traffic, security, and other issues of that. If you look at page 4 of the agreement, this is the one that usually gets the most public interest when we have public meetings and such, and is one of the bigger topics of discussion when we have our Rose Park Advisory Group meetings with the groups in that area. It shows the percentage of usage by Belmont University at each of the facilities, and it shows the community usage. And the community usage down here is actually the community groups that we issue permits and rent field space to. So if you look at the top number, and that's what Belmont uses at each facility. And then the next numbers down are what we rent to groups that pay to have sports programs there. And then the other time is just unscheduled times when people from the neighborhood can go and use the park. Now, One of the big things we're working on to try to help with the advisory group over there is really wanting us to get to where they can go use the park now when it's not being permitted by use for us or by Belmont. But what they've really asked for us to do, and we're working on with Metro IT and also with Belmont together, to try to get a place where right now we can see it in our office, the schedule, and the Belmont's athletics department can see it. But the public doesn't have a way to see when there is free time available, when they could just go over and hang out. So we feel that would be a big step in the right direction, would make them really happy. So we're working with Metro IT right now, and they're in the process of integrating our new websites and training everybody on the web, all the new web content authors and such as that. So as soon as they get done with that and finish their current phase, probably hope around the first of the year, we'll be able to get that online for people. And that would make a lot of the community members of Edge Hill a lot happier. We've got the next page just details community users. We've got detailed payments, how they were used at the different places. We got the one thing that Darlene Morrow and Stevan Nellums did this year is they really expanded on the lease payments, how they were used at Yes Rose. They tracked those a lot better and gave a lot bigger report of how those were used. They do a lot of great things over there. It was used a little bit different this year. They usually do a lot of programming, but because of COVID, during that reporting period, they weren't able to have groups in the community rooms as much. So they made some other programs, some travel programs, and did some upgrades to fitness equipment such as that over at the facility there, which was really helpful. If you look through the last pages, it goes through the scholarships, how much they spend each year to give the scholarships to the kids in the neighborhood that go to Belmont University, and they gave over $288,000 in scholarships that were distributed among 10 students in that program. And if you have any questions, anybody? All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the report. We do appreciate it. We're going to move now to our consent agenda. Director Odom, I understand there is an amendment.
All right. One amendment, an addition, a camping approval request by the Music City BMX Annual State Championship at Hamilton Creek Recreation Area for October 16th and 17th.
So we have the amendment to include the Music City BMX event, October 16th and 17th. Are there any questions about the agenda, consent agenda before we move? I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda in its entirety with the addition of the amendment.
So moved.
Thank you so much. Is there a second? It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much. The motion carries. We'll move now to new business. 10-21-02, staff requests approval to enter into a purchase option agreement and ultimately purchase 3 contiguous parcels of property comprising a total of 9.55 acres in Metro Council District 30 for future park development. The parcels include parcel number 162-000-30400 located at 140 Tusculum Road, parcel number 162-000-30500 located at 5073 McLendon Drive, and parcel number 162-000-30600 located at 279 Bart Drive. This will be deferred to acquisition. Moving now to 10-21-03. Metro Parks is requesting approval of a revised agreement for grant of easement for Conservation Greenway between Germantown JV, LLC, and Metro Government on property owned by Germantown JV, LLC, located at 1420 Adams Street, parcel number 0820501770. This too will be deferred to acquisition. Moving to 10-21-04, request for approval to declare 0.369 acres on a portion of Orchard Bend Park to be public right-of-way to construct road improvements at the intersection of Blue Hole Road and Pettus Road, and to create a new entrance road into Orchard Bend Park. The Nashville Department of Transportation will be managing the construction of these improvements and will maintain the improvements within the public right-of-way. This too will be deferred to acquisition. 10-21-05, 10-21-05, Mr. Brandon Dice, Board Chair of Friends of Metro Animal Care and Control, requests board approval to fundraise during the Pickleball Classic. This pickleball tournament will be hosted at Centennial Sportsplex on October 23rd through 24th, 2021. Director Odom, is there a recommendation?
Staff recommends approval.
Thank you so much. I'll accept a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Why is this not on the consent agenda?
Because it's a very new request, and the fundraising piece is a piece that you all would need to look at.
Thank you for the question. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. We're moving now to 10-21-06, West Nashville Sports League. Miracle League of Music City requests an amendment to 02-17-09. Board approves the request of Scott Tigert to solicit sponsorships to design and construct a miracle field in Warner Park. The proposed amendment would rescind the demolition of the Heritage Field and amend the 2005 Warner Park Master Plan that limits the number of fields in Warner Park. The proposed amendment would allow the existing 5 baseball fields to remain with a new special needs miracle field and an ADA playground. Director Odom, is there a recommendation?
Oops, sorry. Staff recommends deferral to the acquisition committee.
Thank you so much. Should we hear from Mr. Scott Tigert at this point? Mr. Tigert, you have 3 minutes to address the board, please.
Roll the video, please. Thank you, board. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
WNSL is a youth sports league featuring baseball, softball, basketball, soccer, cheerleading, flag football, and golf, with a motto of where your future is bright. WNSL began its baseball program 19 years ago, with 350 players and 7 baseball fields, 5 fields at Harpeth Hills Church of Christ, and 2 fields at Warner Park. Today, we have 1,200 players with just 10 baseball fields. The growth of baseball players from 350 to 1,200, with only adding 3 fields, 3 new fields built in Warner Park in 2005, has created a great strain on our baseball program. The WNSL is only able to provide youth sports if there are facilities to play these sports in. We found new gyms to play in for basketball, but with baseball, there are only so many baseball fields, which are not easy to come by. Removing the Hericus baseball field will be detrimental to the WNSL youth baseball program. Quite frankly, youth baseball players wanting to play in the WNSL will be directed to other parks or areas outside of Davidson County. The Hericus field is not only used for baseball. Flag football and soccer players will be affected as well. There is a tremendous need for more baseball fields, and removing a baseball field is not the way to go, especially with the growth of the population in this area. Metro Park's Plan to Play clearly points this out. A new miracle field accessible to children with special needs will be added next year. But due to a 16-year-old 2005 outdated Warner Parks master plan that caps the number of baseball fields to just 5 fields, the iconic Hericus baseball field will have to be demolished. Yet a recent Metro Nashville Parks audit indicates Davidson County needs 56 additional recreational fields by 2026. We need your help. With the demand for recreational fields, the best plan of action is to rejuvenate Hericus Field rather than demolish it. We have over 1,300 concerned residents that have signed our petition. We are asking the Metro Nashville Parks Board to compromise and amend the existing Warner Parks master plan to allow 6 baseball fields.
There we go. Thank you. I don't know how much time I've got, probably about a minute, and I've got about 10 minutes to talk about this, but thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I made a grave, incorrect decision in 2017 with the Wayne special needs baseball field to help the kids that have crutches and wheelchairs and downs and so forth to play a miracle field versus a Hericus field that I agreed to tearing it down in 2017. At that time in 17, we had 35 to 40 baseball players using that field and a declining number of church softball league players playing. Today, in 2021, we have 15-plus teams housed on the Harrigus Field that are playing baseball there. Plus, since 2019, our J.T. Moore group out here from J.T. Moore Middle School is using the Harrigus Field as our home baseball field. We have the CPA athletic director, Mike Elson, here. CPA uses it for the middle school baseball team there. The need for this baseball field is tremendous. I can't go on and on about that, but in short, it's vital. Harrigus Field, along with the other 4 baseball fields, are vital to this community of West Nashville. And also with the Miracle Field is vital to the special needs community. Okay, I guess I'm done. The plan to play shows that we need 56 more fields. Don't tear one down, please. Thank you for your time, Dr. Steele and board. I appreciate what you guys do for our community, and thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Tiger, if
Yes,
you would
ma'am.
stay right there, I believe, do you all want to ask your questions now or have an opportunity for Ms. Brannon to speak? We do have some questions at this
I'll
point
be
for you,
glad to
and it
entertain.
will probably get to the 10 minutes of the rest of your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
So
Commissioner?
you acknowledge that you voluntarily agreed to remove the field in 2017,
I didn't voluntarily, but I didn't
but
have
you
a choice.
agreed to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But that was in
And
2017.
does the Miracle Field have to be in West Nashville?
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
Because
Do
Metro
we,
Parks-
do we only have disabled children living in West Nashville? Don't we have them living all over the city?
Yes, sir. But our parks people, if John Holmes, bless his heart, is in the hospital, I guess he's home by now. John Holmes and I discussed the Miracle Field. I saw it on a television show, NBC show, showing a Miracle Field. So I started inquiring it down here. I asked John, I said, John, you guys ever have any plans for a special needs baseball field in the park system called the Miracle Field? John pulled out a notebook that's been laying in his office for about 3 years. It's this thick. It's a how to build a Miracle Field and how to franchise a Miracle Field. I said, what are you guys doing with it? We don't have anybody that have the ability, the capability, the manpower, the money, to build a Miracle Field. And we wanted to do it at Shelby Park. And we've asked Shelby Park to do it, and nobody would take it. I said, can I take it and run with it at Warner Park? He said, absolutely.
But from an accessibility to the entire city, from an accessibility to roadways, from all of that, it doesn't have to be in Warner Parks. Yes or no?
It does not have to be, it
Thank you,
doesn't have to be
thank you,
anywhere.
thank you. So
Or it doesn't have to exist anywhere.
for our next meeting, I would request that you submit to this board your audited financial statements for 18, 19, and 20, and I want to understand exactly the income and expenses that are derived from Warner Parks. Will you commit to get that to us before our next meeting?
Sure, if I have to. I mean, what does that have to do with?
I'd like that information, please, sir.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I don't understand what.
That's all my questions.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to talk about or ask, well, actually, I want to talk about a slightly different part of the Miracle Field.
Yes, ma'am.
But first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has commented and engaged in the park and in this, on these ball fields in particular. It's been personally really interesting to learn more about the Warner Parks, which I grew up in. I agree that creating a Miracle Field is a fantastic idea. I just question whether this is the right place for the field, and I look forward to continuing this conversation in future meetings. One topic that I would like to address today has to do with the sponsorship opportunities that are listed on the website for the Miracle Field. So I had when I first joined the Parks Board, that was when I first learned about the Miracle Field because an agenda came before the naming committee to request the approval of the complex to be named Miles for Miles Foundation Miracle Field Complex of Music City, which was a huge mouthful, I thought. This was in February of 2019. The request also came to name the field itself, which was a different name. Another mouthful was the More Than Me Foundation Miracle Field of Middle Tennessee. So I'm not sure the status of those pledges exactly because I didn't see those listed on the recognition of sponsors, but it was approved in 2019 and slightly changed to the Miles for Miles Miracle Field Complex.
Yes, ma'am.
So today, what I want to raise is that on the website of the Miracle League, there are sponsorship opportunities listed with all kinds of range, excuse me, including the field, the dugouts, the concession stand, the pavilion, the playground, and walkway bricks. These naming opportunities also come with, according to the website, an offer for permanent signage for company name or company logo on the Miracle Field Wall of Fame and the outfield fence. However, in the conditions of the agreement, the 2017 agreement, the Miracle Field says that the sponsorship and signage must meet all park board requirements. So to sell corporate sponsorship before it's been approved is a risky venture. To me, this is getting the cart before the horse. And I just would caution anyone pledging to support the Miracle League that these naming opportunities would need to pass parks first. And furthermore, I have a problem with a ball field becoming a venue for permanent corporate promotions and logos. Parks are a place to get away from media and not an opportunity to sell things. I'm strongly against slipping into commercializing parks. To me, one of the most important reasons that one of the most important roles that we play as Parks board members is to make sure that everyone feels welcomed. Once we allow corporate logos on every brick, dugout, and outfield fence, we have lost the neutral park space that's public and open to the public and free from the clutter of media. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, I do have a question. I'm unclear about how in 2017, the removal of the field was a part of the plan and now it seems to be, very much not a part of what you would like the plan to be. And it just, and I also noticed in the presentation that there was sort of a dismissing of the master plan for Warner Parks, and it doesn't feel collaborative to me the way this is going. So can you address some
Sure.
of that and how you've tried to work with Warner Parks, if you have?
Sure. Well, your handout there shows, like page 2, the 2005 master plan, in which there's supposed to be 4 baseball fields, new baseball fields built in 2005. You'll see page 2, right? You see the 4 fields, right? Okay. Now you look at what's existing today. There are 3 fields, new baseball fields. They never followed through. They ran out of money. I believe, Monique, you were probably financing at that time, but they stopped building after field 3, or decided not to build the 4th field, which is adult baseball. Okay, the compromise was that the 2 existing older fields built in 1961, the Harrigan's Field being one of them, would remain with the 3 new baseball fields. So there's supposed to have been 4 in 2005 built, but they didn't do that. Your next page shows you what's there now in the black, except for the little area for the Miracle Field that's existing between the 3 new fields and the 2 older fields. So there's a gray area there that I worked with the parks system at that time. I was out there, myself and Mr. Hardcastle and the Friends of Warner Park, Mr. Hardcastle at the time with the Hill Realty, and the Jim Fike at the time. We worked on this plan to build these new baseball fields for 2 or 3 years. And for some reason, the 4th field the master plan was never followed through with. But we worked together again and they allowed they built the 3 fields. They built the model airplane guys field. They built the multi-use field there in the middle, but the 4th field was not ever built. Okay? So from the get-go, the master plan has been a flawed plan, and it's never been corrected. And I don't know what to do about that except go with it.
So this is what it would, where's the Harrigus field in this 2005 master plan?
The next page you're holding right there, the big.
But it was
corner.
there already in 2005, correct?
Yes.
But I don't,
Well, I didn't put those down there to show you that the master plan had them being removed. See, that's the master plan drawing.
okay,
And they're supposed to be, the 2 older fields from 61 were supposed to be gone.
I see.
See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So from the get-go, we've, you know, we all work with the parks. Jenny, the model airplane, the Friends of Warner Park with Jenny Hannon, the steeplechase people. There's lots of moving parts out there at Warner Park. It is a beautiful facility. It's a wonderful 3,000 plus acres now, I think, with the Birch Reserve. And our 60 acres at this area right there we're talking about, it is what it is. We've grown, Nashville's grown, the population's grown, the needs for baseball in the last couple of years, baseball's declined across the country. The number of players, youth players across the country has declined playing baseball. But for some reason in our area, and I think it's because of the way we've developed it, the way these fields are kept, and we have a year-to-year agreement with parks right now, year-to-year lease, that if we maintain all the baseball fields ourselves. We spend tons and tons of money. We just built a $75,000 building for our maintenance, and it belongs to the parks. But we built it. We put a new fence up to keep the dog park from overflowing to our baseball fields. We spent, and Jeff goes to that point, he wants to see the finances, that's fine. Those fields are in Nashville. The 3 newer ones and even the 2 older ones from 1961 are the nicest fields in Davidson County. You can ask baseball players all across the county and this part of the country that come and play over there, that these are the nicest fields, but we treat Warner Park with kid gloves. I live in Devonshire, right up the next neighborhood over. I'm cruising through the park. Lieutenant Sergeant Taylor over here from the parks knows because I call him all the time about things at night and different things. But it's not about me. It's about the future and the kids able to play on the 3 new fields, the 2 older fields, and a miracle field hopefully in the future. Yes, ma'am. I hope I answered your question. I know I'm so passionate about this, I start rambling. Yes, ma'am. You are passionate. Yes, ma'am. But it's not only me. There's there's 1,500 other passionate folks on this petition. I guess you guys have seen it. That there's a lot of passion. I never in my wildest dreams thought a baseball field would bring this out in people. But the camaraderie and the love and the need for and the memories from a 60-year-old field, it goes deep. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? Cruz, ask me something. Come on. You okay? Thank you.
I'm good.
Commissioner Gentry.
Ms. Gentry, Dr. Gentry.
Yes, I don't know that I necessarily have a question for you. So we deferred this to acquisitions. Are we going to have everything that we need? I mean, is there information we want to have available prior to the acquisitions meeting? Are we clear on what it is we need to continue the discussion, other than what Mr. Haynes has requested?
I would like to hear from Friends of Warner Parks before the next meeting, for sure.
Okay.
So we have a staff recommendation for deferral. We have
Right.
not voted on that yet. I wrote down WNSL financials and sponsorship opportunities. Were there other things that were needed for the
And I
deferral?
guess, so for you, would it be a position statement from?
Well, I
who
think
chairs?
that's what's next on the agenda.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would recommend that we defer any action on this until we've heard from Ms. Hannon, but
So you want to wait on even the deferral vote Or are you gonna use this information from the next speaker in the acquisitions meeting?
Well, it has not been moved that we defer. It's been recommended by the
Okay.
staff, so.
So you just wanna hold off on the motion? Okay.
May I add one more thing? I have Mr. Jerry Hall here. I don't know if he gets any exemption, but he's with Government Services with the ADA Metro codes. But he's here to answer any questions about the Miracle Field, if you guys happen to have anything, but,
Thank you.
anything. Anyway, thank you. I guess
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would the area be amenable to the board voting to keep Harrige's Field, but moving Miracle Field to another park in the district, in the park system? Because there's been a lot of passion to keep Harrige's, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. There's been a lot of passion to keep that field, and we understand the history behind that.
Yes, ma'am.
But the 2017 vote says that we would get rid of that if we would bring on the Miracle Park. And so Miracle Park is not something that has to be in the WNSL nor in Warner Park. And this could be something that you can answer next time. But as a consideration, keeping Harrige's and moving Miracle to another park. And of course, our Parks Department would have to, and this is Michelle asking, this is not, our Parks Department would have to determine where that could be in that process, but that is something that could be up for consideration as well.
I can't answer that right now.
I understand.
We've been raising money with the understanding of where this field is. And a lot of our West Nashville Sports League clientele, to be honest with you, the tearing down of Harrige's Field with the understanding of the Miracle Field being there and vice versa, I think we could have probably already had we're close to 1.7, almost $1.8 million now. If we move this field to East Nashville, North Nashville, wherever, I think we'll lose a lot of that money, and they'll be starting from ground zero. I'm not trying to pressure anybody, but the special needs baseball field needs to be built in Davidson County.
Commissioner Gentry.
And you've got, I'm no god or king or anything else, but out there at Warner Park, there's an establishment set that to manage it and to be around, if you will, the normal baseball players and the inclusivity of it, of the Miracle Field being close to other baseball fields is paramount to making it a better community, to where the kids that are playing baseball can go walk over and see how good they've got it. And at Warner Park, it's a great area for that. Yes, ma'am.
I do have one other question, and this is maybe not for you, maybe it's for the parks folks. If a field needs to go, is there a reason why it has to be Harrige's Field? Could we keep the historic field, and if we demolish another field that could be used for Miracle Field? Just a thought.
We're beating the front end of the horse, now we're beating the back end of the horse. The issue is just the sheer volume of kids we have playing out there. If we lose any baseball field, if we were to take one of them away, we will not be able to maintain our program like we have. It's up to you guys. I mean.
Commissioner Gentry, you have a question?
So, not so much a question. I'm just trying to get the word normal out of my head right now. We're going to work on that DEI language at another point. But, so for Ms. Scott Barnes' comment around, what she believes the parks are, I also believe we have an equity issue that we have some responsibility for. And so if we're going to say what the parks are meant for, they're not meant to be commercialized, they belong to the city, they belong to the citizens, I would ask that in this acquisition, if it gets deferred to acquisition, that one of the lenses we use is, are we providing equitable access to this ability to play baseball across the city of Nashville? So, you know, it's not only the kids, and I think Mr. Haynes said this, it's not only the kids in West Nashville that should have the ability and access and a convenient access to this type of a resource. So I would also say that one of the lenses that we use is a lens of equity to ensure that we're not saturating a specific part of the town, part of Davidson County with this already stated viable resource.
Thank you so much.
Michelle, can I say
Yes.
something real quickly? To follow up on that, Councilor Hurd, thank you so much for all you do and for coming. I think the best way to do that is for you to work diligently to give the Parks Department more money. We are the most underfunded department in the city. And to build 56 fields, if you could work with your cohorts to make sure we have the resources to build these fields, as Sharon said, all over our city. That's what we desperately need, is more money to go build the 56 fields called for. So if we could just ask for your help as you continue to do your great work in making sure Parks is adequately funded.
And I'm so glad you said that because I'm already on it. I believe that the American Rescue Plan money needs to recoup some of the money that has been lost by the parks because they've had so many frontline workers, and I've been talking to them about that. So you can rest assured that I am the greatest cheerleader for this parks department and this parks board, because you all have been very kind to me. And I can appreciate the words that Dr. Gentry shared. But I do want to say that Bellevue has probably the largest amount of different ethnicities in that community. And it really does serve. And didn't Mookie Betts play over there as well? So we understand, and you know that I am for equity, and that's what I speak of. But because it's already there, it's already planned, it's already available and accessible, we want to do that. To make sure that we're able to continue to go on and have that smooth transition. And I understand we do need to look at it, and I think we will go back and look at and see if this is going to actually be something that can possibly be done. But I'm going to be honest, I think we're probably going to come back and have a compelling argument on why it should stay in West Nashville, but we will take that back, and we appreciate your comments and your concerns, and you can believe that I will stay on top of it. And guess what? I just got appointed to Budget and Finance, so I have even a larger voice to be able to say something. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for the comments. We're going to move
Can I
now.
address one more thing about this? The TVA is behind this project. The TVA reached out to us about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Jeff, you'll be interested in this. The TVA wants not only to help us build ours, they built the one in Birmingham, Tennessee Valley Authority. They have given us $600,000 to $800,000 of work, craftsmanship and other things. They want to reach out to you, Monique, and talk to you guys about building and partnering with the park system about building more than one field here in Nashville.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tiger.
That's brand new, so thank you.
We're-
Just
Yes.
one more thing. I would like the record to show that back in the day, I was a shortstop playing softball. Yeah, I just want you to know that I was really great.
I was in the outfield. Thank you so much. We're going to take this out of order at this point before we move to the vote on the recommendation for deferral. We're going to move to 10-21-07, Ms. Jenny Hannon. And I apologize, I said that wrong a little earlier. Thank you. President of Friends of Warner Parks requests to address the board regarding the Miracle Field. Ms. Hannon, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you all. I'm here today to ask the Park Board to defer the request being made to amend the 2017 agreement concerning the building of the Miracle Field, rescind the demolition of the Harrigus Field, previously agreed to by WNSL and the Park Board, and amend the 2005 Warner Park Master Plan. These original plans and agreements were developed and passed by this board with much time, thought, and public engagement. The primary goal of the 2005 master plan was to balance the needs of a growing community with the long-standing principles that have protected and enhanced the beloved Warner Parks. The planners thought then that the balance was likely the most complex challenge of the master plan. We are here today because maintaining balance has become even more challenging and critical. Fortunately, participants in the planning process understood that every recreational need in the community cannot be satisfied on this one site in Warner Parks. Anyone who uses the parks or the fields or who lives in the neighborhood knows that today the balance has exceeded the tipping point. Upholding the integrity of the master plan and abiding by it is exceedingly necessary to prevent further erosion of the delicate balance that you are entrusted to maintain. The Park Board does not have to act today on the requests from the current permit holder, whose proposal continues to completely overwhelm capacity of the fields and surrounding park area. If approved, it would destroy the balance of the growth and protection of parks that this board wisely established 4 years ago. In December, when the current permit comes up for renewal, I asked you to consider any and all permit applications to run a sports league in Warner Parks, as well as build the Miracle Field. Then you can select the best applicant. The best applicant would form its proposal to the park standards based fully on what is best for the parks, not what is expected, not ask to expect the board and the park to adapt to the needs of the permit holder. A proposal that will require no compromises or amendments to plans already adopted by you and your predecessors. The best applicant will create and manage an exceptional sports league and will prioritize the preservation and protection of Warner Parks. It will work with the parameters and uphold the integrity of both the 2005 master plan and the 2017 agreement to build the Miracle Field, while also recognizing and valuing the contributions of Coach Harrigus in an honorable and appropriate manner at the sports and special event area. This will enable you, the Metro Park Board, to reclaim this area of Warner Parks. It is your park, a Metro Park. It is your permit to award. And it is time to stop compromising and negotiating and consider all of your potential options. Warner Parks is too much of a valued and precious asset for all in our community. Thank you very much for allowing me to address you today. I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Dr. Steele has to leave, so I'm going to take over chairing this meeting. So are there any questions for Jenny Hannon? And is there, let's see, I'll give a little bit more time in case there are any questions. Okay.
Is it appropriate for me to ask a question? No?
Sure.
I was just wondering with the petition, I guess maybe this is are the petition holders all Davidson County residents in terms of the metro, in terms of our county?
Actually, it appeared that there were a good chunk that were from out of county and even out of state when I was looking at where they came from.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to go back to Director Odom for the recommendation on the prior item that we had before us.
Yes, the staff recommended deferral to the acquisition committee.
So let me ask a couple questions. Ms. Hannon raised the issue of potentially having other permit applications in December. Is it going to be appropriate for the acquisitions committee and then the full board to hear this matter in November? Or should we wait and see if we actually get other applications in order to make an informed decision? And I ask that without any answers. I'm just curious.
I think they're two separate issues. One issue is the Miracle Field, and the other situation are our annual permits, sports permits.
Yes.
So I would actually ask us to consider it as three separate issues, because I think that the Harrigus demolition and the building of the Miracle Park are two separate things, right? So I think we should kind of separate those in our minds and make unique decisions about each one of those.
Agreed. And Sharon, to follow up on that, I would ask Monique, you and your staff come to us at the acquisitions committee, and if there are other parks that we are trying to activate, that we are trying to to create unique offerings, especially for those with disabilities that might be more accessible to the entire city. We need recommendations from you and your staff. We're getting new parkland all the time that we're trying to look for programs to create energy in those parks. For us to make an informed decision acquisitions, I think we're gonna need some recommendations from you and your team.
Sure, absolutely.
Director Odom, can you just walk us through how the permit application works and what the timing is and how, I'm not remembering having voted on that.
They are generally annual permits, and if you recall, I think it's usually in December or January, there's a long list of permits on the agenda. And they move through that way. They have been vetted, and permit holders have worked with our staff to work out the terms and all of that, but they do require Parks Board approval, but they are approved all at one time annually. Yeah, so it's usually in, I think, December or January.
I have a follow-up question on that. So if there are two different organizations that are interested in then competing for the same space, what is the precedence, or how does Parks handle that situation?
I don't believe that we have had that occur, but I would certainly expect us to evaluate those and then pull them out if we needed to evaluate them on the face of what they're offering and what is needed in the park system.
So that happens at the staff level? That would happen at the staff
Yes.
level?
So the other thing I think we should think about, if you could, is tell us where else we have baseball fields in our parks in the city and what the utility is. I find it interesting that JT Moore is electing to go to Warner Parks and not to Rose Park. So I'm curious how all this works, and if we could have an inventory of all the baseball fields in our parks and some anticipated utility of those, I think that's going to be very helpful information.
So sorry to make that report even bigger, but year it was built, what are the current maintenance, like what condition is it in? I mean, is it something that you would be budgeting for refurbishing or uplift or facelift? So all those things, I mean, because when we think about it from a school's perspective, we look at the age of the facility and maybe low utilization because it needs maintenance or something like that. So I think it's a more detailed report than.
If I might, I'm gonna ask Wayne, I think Wayne Evans, to come up. He runs our sports division, but I would like to say one of the budget reductions that we had in FY13 were leasing of ball fields. So that all was done in-house before then. And so we went to a format where permit holders would then take care of the utilities, the maintenance, and everything else at the ball field, rather than that coming to the parks, and we moved all that staffing out as well. So that was one of the reductions, and that is why the model is the way that we use it today. But Wayne, can you speak to?
That's exactly right. Over the years, we went from, we used to have a sports division where we ran leagues, hired umpires and all that kind of thing, and then that shrunk and got eliminated. And like she said, the parks maintenance was underfunded for years, and we were having trouble keeping up the maintenance aspect of the ball fields. So as a budget reduction, we started issuing permits, and people do programming that's basically a maintenance agreement where they take care of all the field maintenance, any of the costs associated with that, utilities and whatnot, and that's how we came to. And the way they've been operating, it's like she said, every December, the ones that are up for renewal get on the park board agenda. And if somebody folds, we've had several during the COVID year especially, we had 2 or 3 groups that went out. Then we'd have different ones reach out, and if somebody was willing to take over a field at a particular location, we would vet them and check them out and see what get all their insurance and all that stuff, and then get them a permit as well. And it's been more difficult to get permit holders to take over fields the last 2 or 3 years, just because it's been more difficult financially for a lot of these athletic groups. But our policy has been, if somebody's been a good tenant at a field, paid all their things on time, run a clean program, had any issues, we recommend them to be renewed in the December meeting to the park board again for the next year.
So I want to close with echoing what Sharon said earlier. I think we are called to look at this from a holistic equity perspective for the entire city. And so this is not just the, Harrigus Field, this is not just the Miracle Field. I think we probably need to pause and step back and look at this from an equity perspective all across our parks with the utilization of our sports fields as we make this decision. I know that could potentially delay this, but this is a really important decision. I know we got a lot of emotions on both sides of this issue, but we need to be very thoughtful as a board.
Thank you. So now I think we just need a motion.
I move deferral to acquisitions committee meeting.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Excuse me, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay. Let's see, item 102108, Nashville Zoo at Grassmere, request board approval for a permanent beer permit to allow the sale of beer at the zoo. Will Cheek,
Thank you, members of the Parks
welcome.
Board.
Thank you. You've got 3 minutes. Maybe I can just give you a second to let people come through.
Okay. Thank you, members of the Park Board. I'm Will Cheek. I'm here with Danielle Johns from Waller Lanston. I have Brent Durham. He is from SSA Group. He's the general manager and supervises the food, beverage, and retail service at the zoo. I also have Andy Tillman, Chief Operating Officer of the zoo, Suzanne Eiler, Chief Development Officer, and David Ayler, he's Vice President of the zoo. You've seen our materials, and I won't bore you with going over them again. We're asking for the board's approval to allow the SSA Group, the concessionaire at the zoo, to obtain a beer permit to allow it to serve beer on premises at the zoo.
Are there any questions? Director Odom.
I'll just say staff recommends approval, and I want to throw to legal counsel about exactly how we would proceed this process.
So state law already allows the sale of alcohol at the zoo. They may be selling margaritas, whatever they're now, I'm not sure. But as a right, the zoo can already sell alcohol at the beer. So what they're asking is for permission to sell beer. It will require a permit to be issued by the beer board and also council approval, since there is this section of the code that talks about beer being sold within 100 feet of a park.
But they already have the beer permit, according to your letter?
Well, they were inadvertently issued a beer permit by the beer board. I think maybe the beer board was confused about who owned this piece of property. And so they were issued a permit. I think they've agreed to not sell beer, and that's the permit's sort of on hold right now.
I see.
Hey, so I'm just curious.
Yes, ma'am.
So the beer so would the beer be confined to a certain section of the zoo, or are we like drinking beer and walking through the zoo?
This is what would allow consumption of beer throughout the zoo. Let's see the props here.
So the open container thing is not an issue at the zoo?
No, so it would allow service throughout the zoo. Alcohol is in a marked cup like this. Nothing else is in a cup that's like this. So it's very distinct. You can tell who has a cup. And the zoo's got training, they've got security throughout the zoo, and it's policing it. If you'd like to hear more about that, I have Mr.
No, I was
Tillman.
just curious.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, who goes to the zoo and, man, I need a beer? I don't know.
So another question, am I understanding correctly that we are serving other kinds of alcohol now in these kinds of cups throughout the zoo?
Margaritas.
Margaritas, okay. Only margaritas, okay. Interesting. And the laws and codes, et cetera, are just different for beer, and that's why you're here, only about beer?
That's correct. So the city law, so the city issues a beer permit, and the city has its own set of laws. One of the laws is that you can't hold a beer permit if you're within 100 feet of a park. As it turns out, the zoo is a park, according to Metro Legal. And so we have asked the council for an exception, and that is pending on October 19. But we also, because this is park property, and it is, I guess it's in the code, where the parks has to approve the sale of alcohol at a park, we're here before you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Do we approve the margaritas?
We don't have to.
So you don't have to approve the margaritas because it's in the state law that you're allowed to sell alcohol by
Hey,
right.
I'm from New Orleans. I mean, I'm good with either way. I'm just trying to understand.
Okay,
In the park.
It's that meeting.
may I,
Yeah.
may I make a motion that we allow the zoo to sell beer at the zoo?
You may. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you, members of the board. We really
Sharon,
appreciate
to
your
answer
time.
your question, it's parents of 4 young children that take them to the zoo and we drink.
Okay. Yeah, well, you know, I did we used to, the camping out at night on Halloween. Yeah, we've done it all. I needed a beer.
All right, we all do. Okay. The next item is 102109. Mr. Darrell Hawks, Executive Director of Friends of Mill Ridge Park, requests the board to approve an amendment to the Friends of Mill Ridge Park Trailhead 2021 grant. This amendment changes the grant from a cash contribution by Friends of Mill Ridge Park to an in-kind contribution for construction of a primitive trailhead at Mill Ridge Park. And the value of the in-kind contribution is $40,000. Metro Park has agreed to commit to up to $50,000 to the project. No money will be paid to Metro Parks. Director Odom, is there a staff recommendation?
Staff recommends approval, and just to reiterate, this is just housekeeping. You all had previously approved this, but it was cash, and this just changes it to in-kind on the part of Friends of Mill Ridge. Our commitment remains the same.
I move approval.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes. Item 102110, Mr. Stephen Ilgen, President-elect of the Friends of Two Rivers Mansion, requests board approval to fundraise to support the maintenance and repair work at Two Rivers Mansion. Director Odom.
Staff recommends approval.
Okay, I'll accept a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, my motion passes. 102111, Mnps requests board approval for the construction of an ADA accessible parking and pathways at the Mcgavick High School softball field. This upgrade also includes a replacement visitors dugout and upgraded pathways to the tennis court. The value is to be determined, and funding will be the sole responsibility of Mnps. Mnps is the authorized user and caretaker of a softball field on Metro Parks property adjacent to Mcgavick High School. Park staff will give final approval. Director Odom?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move approval.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, the special presentations, I believe Tim Nate is up. Is that right? Yes. Capital projects from Tim Nate.
All of these projects are moving forward, but there's nothing particularly exciting to share this week. So I'll just hit a couple of them. In Centennial Park, the Children's Memory Garden, that contract is currently being circulated for execution. That's the construction contract. So once that is executed, we can begin to look at a schedule for mobilization and beginning construction. At the meeting in November, I think we will have a date for a groundbreaking event associated with that. The Fort Negley Master Plan has kicked off, and we have been having meetings with our consulting team with some of the initial technical stakeholders. This is kind of a data download, some initial data collection for the master plan, and we will be looking at the first round of public engagement in early November. And then with Wharf Park, the planning team there is just beginning to develop some concepts that then will get refined for the purposes of having a second round of public engagement. At this point, it looks like that we might try to squeeze it in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is not a great time for public meetings, but all of that is to be determined. And that's what I've got. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Tim? Okay, thanks, Tim. Whoops, I'm turning myself off there. Let's see, we've got next the upcoming activities and events. Jackie Jones.
Thank you. I'm going to leave my mask on. Somebody just informed me that my lipstick was all over my face, so I will spare you all. So if you get a copy of our October newsletter, which all of you all do, you know that it's a lot going on in October, as it always is. So I'm going to run through this real quickly because it's a lot. October 8th through the 10th, we have the 43rd Fall Tennessee Craft Fair scheduled from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Centennial Park, which, as you know, is a very popular event featuring the unique works of Tennessee craftsmen from across the state. On October 16th, we have two events actually. Approximately 250 kids from community centers are sponsoring an event called Stop the Bullying. The event begins at 10 a.m. in Hadley Park. It includes live performances, games, and free food. That's always a good thing. Also on the 16th, Dog Days in the Park, sponsored by the Nashville Humane Association, is scheduled from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be a costume contest, a pet parade, demonstrations, and more. Jazz on the Cumberland celebrates its 10th anniversary on Sunday, October 17th at Cumberland Park. In addition to the great jazz music, there will be a special program to recognize those individuals who have made this event a staple for this city. Opera in the Park is also scheduled on October 17th. Sponsored by the Centennial Park Conservancy, the event is scheduled from 3 to 4 p.m. on the Great Lawn. The program features arias and Broadway favorites performed by several Nashville artists. On Saturday, October 23rd, we have a groundbreaking ceremony scheduled for Ravenwood Lytle Park. That event is scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. October 31st is Sunday in the park. That event is sponsored by Friends of Warner Park. It's a fundraising event for the group, and it is to help them in their mission to support Warner Parks. And in addition to farmers markets at Bellevue, 12 South, Richland, and Two Rivers Park, we have the food truck brunch on Sundays in Centennial Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the Musicians Corner Showdown series on Thursdays from 5 to 9 p.m. in Centennial Park through the end of the month. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, is the craft fair only on Saturday?
I think the craft fair runs Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Report from the director.
Thank you so much. As you all know, the NRPA conference was last month, September 21st through the 23rd, and it was very successful downtown at the Music City Center. And our department, knowing that we were going to be the host city for several years, had planned and got training throughout over the past probably 6 years. And there were folks who committed themselves above and beyond their regular work, and I just wanted to recognize some of those folks. First of all, Bob Benson here in our department kind of led the effort of being the host city. Shelley Walker supported him as well. Lisa King, Vicki Pierce, Allison DeVault, Randy Crawley, Blake Golden, Brian Irvin, and our partners also at TRPA also volunteered at the conference and helped to make it a success. If I've left anybody out, charge it to my head and not to my heart. But I appreciate all that everybody did to make the conference here in Nashville a success. I have gotten quite a few emails and calls from folks across the country who were able to attend in person. And they were not only impressed with the conference, but impressed with Nashville and our parks. So I appreciate everybody who helped with that. We recently met with the mayor's staff and Metro Finance staff to start to discuss a tentatively upcoming capital spending plan, hopefully in the fall, and discuss our deferred maintenance needs and needs for capital projects and ongoing funding. We continue to work to fill vacancies in the department. It is a challenge, just like every other industry and every other department. There is a people power shortage for various reasons, but we are still working diligently to fill positions that we need here. And of course, we balance need and solvency so that we can get those filled. We continue to give attention to Brookmead Park, coordinating with the mayor's office and social services, homeless impact division, and Metro Police. In addition to that, not only Brookmead Park, but other parks. Our own Rick Taylor just did some media yesterday morning with a local news program. He and Jackie Jones have kind of been our contacts in regard to the planning efforts and our coordination for our homeless issue in this city. So thank you, Rick. Thank you. And then Metro Legal continues to work toward our respective petitions and applications for to the State Historical Commission for the removal of the Confederate private monument and the renaming of Hadley Park. And we plan to get those submitted for the winter meeting on the winter agenda. I would also like to finally mention that Metro Council has had committee reassignments recently, and Council Member Russ Bradford is now the chair of the Public Facilities, Arts, and Culture Committee, and that includes the Parks Department. There was some consolidation of council committees. I think they had 14 and now have 11. So Councilman Bradford will probably join us at some park board meetings at some point in the future. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Do you have questions for me?
Okay, seeing none, are there any announcements, requests for future items, or open items?
None. No.
Okay. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Meeting.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.